Welcome to AI Podcast. Today we're digging into a new EMNLP paper called MultiAgentESC, a multi-agent framework for emotional support conversations.
Emotional support conversation as in systems that try to comfort and guide someone who's distressed, right?
Exactly. Think of it like a counselor-style chat. The headline finding is pretty straightforward. Instead of a single big model responding in one go, multi-agent ESC coordinates several specialist agents to analyze the user's feelings, brainstorm strategies, debate candidate replies, and then vote on the best response. It's training-free, so no fine-tuning, and it beats strong prompting baselines in both automatic metrics and human judgments.
That's the TLDR, nice and clean. Who's behind it?
The paper's led by Yangyang and colleagues from USTC and partner institutes. We'll keep it simple and just say it's a collaboration out of Hefei.
Got it. Before we get into the plumbing, what's the core problem they're tackling?
Two big ones. First, in emotional support, there isn't just one correct strategy. You might reflect feelings, ask gentle questions, or suggest a small next step. That one-to-many mapping trips up models that try to pick a single strategy first. Second, large models tend to play favorites. They overuse certain strategies like reflecting feelings because those feel safe or easy.
So the model either locks itself into one lane too early or keeps leaning on its comfort food. That makes sense. Where does multi-agent ESC come in?
They borrow a playbook from how people actually work together. Picture a small team around a table. One teammate reads the room, another proposes a few ways forward, then everyone discusses and votes on which response would actually help. The system has three stages. First, it analyzes the dialogue to infer the user's emotion, the cause of that emotion, and what the user seems to want from the conversation. Second, it deliberates on possible strategies, pulling in similar past cases to avoid tunnel vision. Third, it generates a response for each candidate strategy, runs a mini debate among agents, and selects a single polished reply.
Right, so analysis, deliberation, and then a response bake-off. I like the bake-off analogy because you're not arguing about recipes in the abstract, you're tasting the cake. Why is that important here?
Because it reframes the problem. Instead of forcing the system to decide which strategy is correct ahead of time, it asks which concrete response seems most supportive given the person and context. That sidesteps the one-to-many trap. If two strategies could work, generate both and choose the response that actually lands.
And the similar past cases you mentioned, that's retrieval, yeah?
Yep. They use a sentence embedding retriever to bring in examples of earlier emotional support turns that resemble the current situation. It's like saying, remember when we helped someone who felt overwhelmed by exams? Here's what worked and what didn't. That memory keeps the agents from defaulting to the same old move.
What models are under the hood?
They mainly use a strong, open model as the backbone. The framework itself is agnostic and built with an agent orchestration toolkit. The key point is they didn't fine-tune anything for the study. It's all prompting, role assignment, and coordination.
Okay, so how did they test it without drowning in variables?
They used ESConv, which is the go-to dataset for this task. It's a collection of support dialogues with labeled strategies. For compute reasons, they evaluated on roughly 100 conversations and used the rest for case retrieval. They compared against a suite of training-free baselines like few-shot prompting, chain of thought, self-refine, and other multi-agent setups.
And what kind of results did they see?
On automated metrics, the system tended to score higher on diversity and was competitive or better on quality measures like Rouge and Blue. But the important bit is human evaluation. Annotators with psychology backgrounds preferred MultiAgentESC over the baselines on fluency, identifying the user's problem, comfort level, and usefulness of suggestions. They also ran an LLM judge as a second opinion, and the pattern matched the human ratings.
That's encouraging. Did they look at the mix of strategies the system used?
They did. Baselines leaned heavily on a narrow set, especially reflecting feelings. Multi-agent ESC produced a more balanced spread, so the debate plus retrieval brought variety without losing quality.
Nice. I want to zoom in on the debate phase for a second. How does that sound in plain language?
Imagine three coaches reading the same play. One says, ask a gentle question to open the person up. Another says, reflect their feelings so they feel heard. The third says, offer a tiny, practical suggestion. Each coach writes a short response. Then they critique each other's drafts, pointing out tone, specificity, and risks. After that, a judge selects the best draft and a final pass polishes it.
That helps a lot. It feels almost like a newsroom pitch meeting. Everyone brings a paragraph, they argue, and the editor chooses the lead.
Exactly.
Let's talk about caveats. What should listeners keep in mind?
A few things. First, the test slice was relatively small, and the evaluation was on a single dataset. That means we don't yet know how well it holds up across cultures, languages, or very serious scenarios. Second, the human study had a small annotator pool. The results are promising, but we'd like to see more detail on rater agreement. Third, cost and latency. Multi-agent orchestration with retrieval and debate is powerful but not free. The paper didn't really quantify runtime or token use.
And safety, right?
Yes, the authors do note that this is support, not therapy, but there wasn't a dedicated stress test for crisis situations, like self-harm disclosures or a clinical study with practitioners. That's important if you want to deploy responsibly.
Totally. So if you had to explain why this worked in one sentence, what would you say?
It worked because they aligned the system with how humans reason and support conversations. Multiple perspectives, concrete alternatives on the table, and a selection process that rewards what helps the person in front of you.
That's neat. Also, I'm guessing the retrieval piece mattered a lot.
It did. Their ablations suggest the memory of prior cases was crucial for reducing strategy bias, and the group discussion helped pick stronger responses. So the combination really matters.
Do they release anything people can try?
Yes, they released code. If you're a practitioner, you can look at their prompts and agent roles and adapt the workflow to your own backbone model.
Let's look ahead. What future work would you like to see?
First, larger and more diverse evaluations, including multilingual settings. Second, explicit safety evaluation with escalation protocols and clinician oversight. Third, measuring cost and latency, then pruning the agent steps or adding early exits. Fourth, better disambiguation between similar strategies so the system understands subtle differences, like when a reflective statement should shift into a gentle question.
I'd add user studies with real volunteers and a clear handoff to human support when risks appear. Even a simple rule like, if the person mentions crisis keywords, the system stops and shows resources.
Absolutely, and I'd love to see whether a smaller, cheaper model can run a lightweight version of the pipeline on device or at the edge for privacy.
Before we wrap, quick summary for folks walking the dog right now. What's the takeaway?
MultiAgentESC shows that coordinating several LLM agents to analyze, deliberate, and vote can improve emotional support chats without extra training. It balances strategies better and earns higher human preference than standard prompting tricks, but it still needs broader testing, safety checks, and deployment-level cost control.
Nicely put. And a gentle reminder, tools like this are not a substitute for professional help. If you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out to qualified support services in your area.
Right. All credit to Yangyang and the team for pushing the conversation forward. That's it for today's AI podcast.
Thanks for listening. If you found this helpful, share it with a colleague, and we'll see you next time.